Ayorga of Frederick, Maryland. First up is Chief Marcus Jones.
Thank you and good afternoon. Appreciate everyone being here. Today is another tough day for the Montgomery County Police Department. We find ourselves praying for the recovery of one of our own. Sergeant Patrick Kep, who's a 36-year-old officer who has been with our department since February of 2014, was struck by a driver early this morning. Sergeant Kep currently serves in the Alcohol Initiatives Unit, which demonstrates his commitment to ensuring the safety of our community by working to get drunk drivers off of our roadways. Just prior to this incident this morning, officers from the 5th District in Germantown were monitoring a green Dodge Challenger, which was driving recklessly at a high rate of speed, starting up at the Clarksburg outlets. The vehicle had been observed driving in excess of 110 miles per hour down I-270. I want to make it known that this driver is known to us from several incidents that we have encountered him in the past. Sergeant Kep is and has been well-versed in this individual's driving activities throughout the past few years. The driver has been known to provoke officers into chasing him, particularly on our major roadways here in the county. I wanted to be known that this morning, although this individual had been provoking us, our officers did not pursue the vehicle. They set themselves up in strategic locations along I-270 from Clarksburg down through Rockville, only to see this vehicle on numerous occasions at high rates of speed exit the highway and re-enter the highway going north and southbound on several occasions, again, at very high rates of speed. Our officers were engaged in this because they wanted to make sure that they were going to prevent a further or potential tragedy. A decision was made after a citizen who was driving on I-270 was almost run off the roadway by this particular vehicle. Therefore, a decision was made by the duty commander and Sergeant Kep to put out stop sticks in order to stop this green Dodge Challenger from any further damage in our community. Sergeant Kep parked his cruiser on the crossover of I-270 northbound just north of Watkins Mill Road. He then got out of his vehicle to deploy the stop sticks when he observed the vehicle coming northbound on 270. Again, putting those stop sticks out in order to prevent anyone else from being struck or killed by this particular driver. The situation took a turn when the driver, the 19-year-old Frederick Raphael Mayorga, intentionally, and I want to stress that, the vehicle is observed actually intentionally moving from the middle lanes to the far left lanes and came directly at Sergeant Kep as he was deploying the stop sticks. He intentionally struck Sergeant Kep in the main lanes of I-270. I'm proud to say that despite that situation, our officers showed exceptional courage and professionalism. Officer Andre Smith of the 5th District used stop sticks further northbound on I-270 to disable the suspect's vehicle, at which time Mayorga was apprehended near Clarksburg Road. Fifth District officers were on the scene and provided life-saving efforts to Sergeant Kemp while fire rescue was en route. We have been told that without those efforts by members of the emergency medical teams, that they don't believe that Sergeant Kemp would have survived his injuries. Sergeant Kemp was transported to a nearby hospital where he remains in critical condition. Unfortunately, Sergeant Kemp has lost the use of both of his legs. Our thoughts and prayers are with Sergeant Kemp and his family during this time. He is not alone, and he is surrounded by his family, his friends, and his co-workers. Mayorga now faces charges including attempted first-degree murder. His bond hearing is scheduled for tomorrow. I just want to quickly note, in April of this year, he was charged with several traffic violations for speeding and reckless driving in the city of Gaithersburg. As I also noted that Sergeant Kemp knows Mr. Mayorga very well, he arrested him on May 26th with several traffic citations, one to include driving 136 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone on I-270, and many other citations to also include reckless driving. This incident has undoubtedly taken a toll on our department. Just last week, we lost one of our own at the 4th District Station, and we are still grieving that loss. We want to emphasize the importance of emotional health and well-being, and our peer support team has been reaching out to our officers and their families to provide the necessary support. We want to thank the county executive for being here with us today, and for all of the county council members who have reached out to support our department, as well as others in our community to do the same. In these trying times, let us stand united as a community and support one another. We will continue to protect our community, and we appreciate your ongoing support. I will turn it over now to the county executive.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to express, my condolences to Sergeant Kemp, his family, and the entire MCPD family. And Sergeant Kemp, at the time of his injury, was attempting to stop an extremely dangerous driver. And the chief has gone over the driver's record. I'll say that one of the things that concerns me, and I think we should look for some legislative help on, this is different than somebody just speeding. This is somebody who is speeding with the intention of trying to provoke a high-speed chase, putting other people at risk. The reason we don't pursue and do high-speed chases is the damage or the risk involved in a high-speed chase. This should not be treated as a regular type of traffic incident, and we should talk to our legislators about a way of criminalizing this in a different way. Because otherwise, this is not just another speeding ticket, doing 80 and a 60. This is a deliberate action and not just a traffic violation. I think it's more severe than that. Our officers, put their lives at risk every single day. And the most we ever know is that we're trying to keep them safe. And we never know how a day is going to turn out for anybody. Sergeant Kemp, want to thank him for his service, but I want to express my sorrow about his sacrifice. This is a sacrifice he should not have had to make. And I feel for his family that has to endure this. This is obviously a life-changing event. This department in the county is going to continue to be here for the family and make sure they get whatever they need throughout this long road ahead now. And to the department, people in the department who are struggling today, please talk to someone. We have resources, we have peer support, and it's all available to help you with any issues involving mental health. And we need you to take care of yourselves. This is not an easy thing to deal with, I think, When I saw this morning, it was pretty shocking to think that something like this would end this way. And I am glad they're pressing first-degree murder charges, and I sure hope he doesn't get out on bond tomorrow, because obviously, if he doesn't have a license and he's doing this and he's got access to cars, there's nothing to prevent him from doing this again. He is an example of somebody who should not be put back on the street, period. So, thank you, Chief. And thank you, folks in your department.
Right now, we'll take some questions for approximately 5 minutes. And if you have any questions, just please use the microphones that are set in front of the tables. Press the button when the light turns green, and you can ask a question.
Right.
Is this one of those guys that goes to intersections with donuts? I mean, is that part of the experience? Well, and can you talk about that?
Yes, Brad, that's exactly right. Mr. Mayorga has been well known in by many of our officers. In fact, I found out information that he's so well known that this is what he does. He does this intentionally to bait officers into chasing him, as if this is some sort of a video game. He does, again, we've seen him, and again, even earlier this morning, he was observed doing donuts. He's observed pulling up the traffic lights while an officer is sitting at a traffic light on patrol and intentionally driving through that traffic light at a high rate of speed in order, again, to bait the officer into pursuing him.
A quick follow-up. I was just looking through case search, and I see nothing for this guy. Has he just paid traffic fines? Is that what's going on here?
He
Never
has
really-
several.
Never really arrested?
No, he has several violations in case search. And I would also utilize his name as his first name being Raphael. That might help a little bit more. But he has several pending cases for these serious traffic violations, to include driving without a license, which is a jailable offense.
So finally, I mentioned that I talked to Rich Liotta today, and Noah's story is part of the fabric of this agency. I was surprised to see that it was 2015 because it's still fresh for all of us. Your thoughts? I see a picture of you with the sergeant getting an award.
Yeah, I mean, this is an example of officers who have a true dedication to keeping our roadways safe by removing people who are under the influence of alcohol or drugs and/or. Sergeant Kep is in that same light as Officer Liotta, who worked extremely hard to do that. He has been a top-notch performer that's been recognized regionally for his work in getting drunk drivers off of our roadways. And this is just but this is a different case in a way, Brad, from my perspective, because this case, when you see the intentional reckless behavior of Mr. Mayorga, who in turn literally drove his vehicle. And if you can only imagine a vehicle of that size coming at you at about 100+ miles an hour, to me, that's a whole different story. But it still goes to really where Sergeant Kep was willing to put himself in harm's way in order to try to get this guy off the street.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Yes, ma'am.
On the press release, I noticed that it said that there were 2 people apprehended in the vehicle. Will you be releasing the identity of the other person, and will they be charged?
No, so we will not release the identity of the other person, and that person has not and will not be charged in this case. That person was treated as a witness.
Was there a suspicion that this driver was under impairment? I know that was something that was brought up earlier today. Did you mention that earlier?
Yes, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. That was one of the initial thoughts of the officers. In fact, there are pending results of that may have, there could be some drugs in this individual system, but we don't have those results as of right now.
Are you able to tell us more about what it was like when officers apprehended the driver? Did he fight back? Did he try and run away? What happened?
I don't have any information that he tried to flee on foot. I think at the end of the day, the arrest went down without incident. Yes, ma'am. I don't believe Sergeant Kep is single. He does have his parents that are nearby in our community. But he is, but again, he's well known throughout our department. He's a subject matter expert, and really just a phenomenal person. Yes, ma'am.
Body camera video capturing this, and will that be used during this investigation? Sorry.
That will be presented to the state's attorney for evidence. Okay, yes. Yes.
Chief, when you have a situation like this where the defendant is known from prior, altercations and things like this, why not just go apprehend them at the place where they live and just wait on them to get there and then swoop in and capture them there?
Well, that would have been fine if he'd have went, like, if he's just going up 270, and that would have been the end of it. But this individual continued to get off the ramp of the interstate, turn around, go back the opposite direction, still driving at a very high rate of speed. So the question that we always get from our community is that we see reckless drivers, and the accusation is we do nothing. And the question is, if we do nothing and he crashes into, again, a civilian, as he nearly did, observed by one of the officers, then I think we are negligent in our duties as police officers to keep our community safe. So we try to do things that we think are in the best interest and as safely as we can in order to be able to stop that behavior. That's what Sergeant Kep was on a mission to do. Yes.
Yeah, real quick, are you guys going to be putting out a mugshot of this driver? And then also, if I could just briefly ask about the press release you guys put out yesterday about the 4 charged in the connection with the death of the 18-year-old Rosa Sanchez Marino. Okay.
Yeah.
The mugshot, will you guys be putting that out?
We'll probably be releasing something later.
Okay.
Yes, okay, all right. Thank you, folks.